You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Dean Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AfterBuzz TV's RuPaul's Drag Race After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's RuPaul's Drag Race After Show.
Yes! Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Season 5 After Show right here on AfterBuzz TV. Bing is for doing, and tonight's episode was entitled Sugar Ball. Z. Tonight I am with my lovely co-host. Starting over to the far left, we have
Cameron Marston.
And
where my people at? Jacque Borowski.
And we are joined by special guest, original co-host, host extraordinaire of RuPaul's Drag Race After Show and AfterBuzz TV, Mr.
Kenny Harrison.
Thank you. You sounded like Cameron Marston.
Where my people at?
Where my people at?
So, this episode started off like it always does, with Coco going home. And someone mentioned that, like, Coco was only there to settle the whole dispute between her and Alyssa.
She didn't even know she was there. How can she? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's stupid.
The thing I did find interesting was that I think Coco was concentrating so much on the Alyssa situation that I felt like it did kind of get in the way of her competition and her competing.
I feel like that happened to Alyssa too, though.
I'm just glad they're both gone. I actually liked Alyssa. I was actually hoping she would be in the top 3, but I'm okay with both of them.
Well, I think we all found her entertaining.
Yeah. I think she
Coco got annoying for me though.
Ugh.
Alyssa was I'm not she was on that train. I mean, she did it, I guess, as best as she could, but she was on the I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this train.
Obviously worked for her, Jacque, right? Show something, spinoff.
Yeah, she's getting a spinoff show.
Yeah.
News and gossip.
Oh.
News and
I
gossip.
said rumor, but go ahead.
Oh no, we'll discuss that in a minute.
Okay.
So now we have left Rolaska Talks and Jinx.
Wait, what did Rolodex? That's what Michelle called them.
The Rolodex.
The Rolodex. I like that.
Rolodex. So this mini challenge, because everyone loves puppets. Everybody loves puppets.
Okay, let me just say, they should have had the puppets
Earlier.
No, throughout the whole thing. I would have liked to see Sugar Ball puppets.
No, I think I got enough of the puppets in the mini challenge. I think it was cute, but I think if they had carried it on, that would have been a bit much.
I can never get enough of puppets.
Well, if they're done correctly. Well, then you must love the commercials that they put in between with the puppets.
Oh,
and
with
stuff.
I don't really.
Yeah.
I don't really like those commercials just because they keep replaying them. If they had new and interesting commercials.
Well, now they have the Bad Idea Bears.
I have not seen that one.
That's pretty funny, I think.
Those are so awkward. They're so awkward. But anyway, what wasn't awkward was the mini challenge Bitch Fest. And sorry, AfterBuzz, but that's the name of the challenge. The mini challenge was called Bitch Fest, where the girls got to reach in deep into a hole and pull out a puppet with one of the other girls' names on it, and they had to depict that girl with the puppet.
Sickening. Alaska's like, it's too high.
It was so good.
I thought the funniest one was Alaska.
She was the funniest one.
And the whole like, oh, I got my rip off, and oh, I got 2 wins.
Yeah.
And like with Roxy, I thought Alaska did a really good job.
She did a
But this
bang-up
goes
job.
this goes back to what they were saying in the comedy challenge, where there's a way to be funny where you're kind of poking fun at somebody without like digging a knife in their back. And Alaska managed to walk that line where, yeah, she was poking fun at Roxy, but she wasn't slaying her to the ground, and so it was funny.
She wasn't trying to draw blood.
It wasn't jabs. They were just jokes and being funny and pointing out stuff that many people are already aware of, but that it wasn't personal. It's something, you know, that's obviously an observation that, you know, people can kind of laugh at. Speaking of jabbing and not being so funny, what do we think of Roxy's portrayal of Jinx?
I'm over her. I actually liked her in the beginning. Now she's annoying.
Far from over her.
She's become the Fifi of the season.
Do you think so?
I absolutely. Oh yeah.
Do you
yes,
think? Yes. Do you think that
she's annoying?
Do you think in this episode she came across as more of a bully?
Yep.
Totally.
See, for me, I didn't think she was saying anything that she hasn't really been saying leading up to this episode.
But we also talk about. I was talking about this when we did. Jacque and I commented a lot today on YouTube.
More like defended themselves.
She's those are things that she said from the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And again, we all talk about editing and how things arc or whatever they're gonna do. And I think she got painted as a bully, but she was a bully to the point where she even apologized today on Twitter.
She
and
did.
Jinx took the apology and said, "I love you, girl. It's all good."
But
she was a bully.
But for me, I kind of feel like this, and this goes back to what I said last week, was that I think all of a sudden, when the girls first saw Jinx walk in, they counted her out. They were like, she's going to be gone within the first couple of episodes. Here we are now in the top 4, and Jinx is still there. And they have so far, the judges have liked what Jinx is doing. And the other girls just don't get it, don't understand why she's kind of sliding through. So do you think that it's just reached a point where they are just annoyed that she's kind of just sliding through and coasting through?
And they're bashing her. They're reaching at straws.
Yeah, and I think for me, the whole Roxy thing, she doesn't give real reason why she doesn't like Jinx. She doesn't like her based on the fact that her drag is different.
Yeah.
And it's not like, well, you don't do this and you don't do that. You're skated by on comedy. Yeah, a lot of the challenges were comedy challenges. So, I mean, it just so happens, call it luck. I don't think it's luck. I think she actually succeeded in a lot of the challenges. And I think Roxy is just intimidated by her.
I think that's what it is in this part of the competition.
She said that on her Facebook. When she posted her apology, she said, I acknowledge that I was feeling intimidated, and that's why I lashed out the way I did. I had a talk with Cam today about this too. I also think I think this is another thing that the producers wanted to hype up and poke with the hot poker, because it seemed to be like, yeah, she had been throwing these comments around up until this point that, you know, Jinx shouldn't be there, blah, blah, blah. But she just like freaked out. And I was like, I don't understand where this is coming from. And especially after last week when we talked with Izzy and he was like, they all seem to be friends off set. I just really don't understand where, for me, this went from like kind of mild irritation or like a little bit feeling intimidated to like just cray cray. And I'm like, I don't understand. It went from like zero to cray cray.
For some reason, because I think I read the apology and the acknowledgement before I watched the episode.
Oh.
Very backwards, very untucked, untucked than the episode, Jacque.
Well, now I watch it all right, according to you guys.
Right, but I was like, okay, and I was expecting there to be like
something big,
huge, something there to be more, like her really going in, her really ripping her, and things like that.
She really did rip her in
I think it was just the repetitiveness, especially in Untucked, because when the two girls or the four were split. All it was sorry, my thing. It's all you hear is Roxy just
and
dogging.
Yeah,
I've had it. She needs to go home. No, I've had it. I've
had what?
I've had her.
And then they get together, and it's more like, you know, I still don't like you, but this is how it is. Oh, and I love you now. It's like, it was so weird.
It was
to me.
weird.
It was like come
manic.
on.
It was weird.
And I just want to comment on the Untucked. I'm kind of over it because they'll say one thing, and then the camera will pan to each girl, and then they'll say the same thing. The same shot again, and it's just so like, give me something else. Like, I think they're running out of material. Yeah, it's like, it's so
the Untucked isn't like how it used to be where
right.
I would look forward to watching Untucked because there was more drama backstage than on stage.
And I think it was more what do you call it, natural.
Impromptu.
Yeah. And as opposed to now, I think it's staged.
Yeah.
Oh, let's put Cameron and Jackie in one room because they hate each other. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, and give them alcohol too.
So speaking of Jinx, you know, do we think that Jinx is a mess or that she's actually very creative and innovative?
This week she was a mess. I mean that candy outfit with the antlers. That
I
was
think she's very creative and innovative, but like she's a lot of the times, you know, she puts her all into something, and sometimes that kind of commitment will work out really well, and it has up until this point worked out really well, and this time she committed herself to something that was not so good. Plus we kind of saw how the narcolepsy was affecting her, and she was like all kinds of, I don't know what was going on.
Well, I think with that, she was, imagine trying to get something accomplished and you're trying to fight your sleep, you know. So,
College.
not me. When I was ready to go to bed, I was like, bump an
Bye.
all-nighter. Good night. I don't have time for that. But she was like,
she got time for that.
she knew that she had a lot of work to do. She knew that, you know, she's in the top, well, trying to be in the top. And she couldn't, there was no time for her to like sleep and let that kick in. So she was trying, so she had like a little mini breakdown. Try not to say like so much. So I keep counting in my head how many times I say like.
It's okay. I say it too. I was rewatching it back, and I'm like, ooh, I am a Valley girl.
It's better than
Yeah, annoys me.
As you say, So, other thoughts about?
I think. Jinx. I thought we were moving on. I like Jinx. After about the halfway point, I think that she could take it all the way.
Yeah. Oh, she.
And she's become one of my favorites, only because I've lost respect for Roxy. I think Alaska is a one-trick pony. Talk about one-trick pony. And Detox, which I actually thought she would be the winner. She just didn't stand out for me. So.
But you say that Alaska is a one-trick pony. Jinx is kind of a one-trick pony too.
No,
I think Jinx is more original.
Yeah.
In what way?
We all know I'm not a fan of Miss Jinx. I don't hate her. I actually think she's the most talented. That means well-rounded for those of you that are Jinx fans and get crazy. She is the most talented of all the girls as far as, for me, well-rounded ideas. But as a drag queen in what we see, the normal for us on a regular everyday basis, maybe that's not her niche. I think she could expand and go far beyond the drag scene because she's talented. She can sing and she's a stage girl.
Yeah.
If she wants to limit herself to the drag race, I get it. Make the $100,000 and move on and do what you got to do. But I don't care if she wins or
we
not.
said that about Sharon Needles last season. She won. It does not. When you look at her and her drag, it's not the same.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
think it's
mean?
just an unconventional form of
Yeah.
drag. Whereas, I mean, Jinx is good at what she does. When I look at Alaska, I'm like, Alaska's funny, but Alaska's wigs are never on right. Her dresses are boring. She has
She plays it
really
safe.
crappy makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something to, at least when Jinx does her makeup, it might be unconventional, but it's very well done in its unconventionalness.
But
And she
do it
takes
now.
risks.
But
Yeah.
to a certain extent, because I can see where Tony is talking about. I mean, at some point, she's almost stuck in a certain era. I mean, come past the 70s.
But aren't they all?
Who?
Roxy. All she does is the same big
Detox
wig.
is the 80s.
Detox does the 80s. They all have their one kind of, and even
Their niches.
yeah, even Alaska, she plays it safe. Like this episode, she played it too safe for me. You know.
I don't think Jinx plays it safe.
I said Alaska. Alaska plays it
You just
safe.
said they all play it safe.
No, the Rolaska talks, they stick to their niche, and then so does Jinx. But I think sometimes Jinx goes outside of the box with the Latino challenge where they dress up on the runway. She came out in the whole what do you call it?
Day of the Dead.
Yeah, it was different. It wasn't, it was a risk and it paid off. And she's had a couple of those on the runway. So
But some people didn't consider that drag.
but I mean, the judges enjoyed it, and that's
But
all
some
that
people
matters.
don't consider a lot of the things that Sharon Needles did drag. Remember when she
The
came
mummy.
out and she was the mummy and she had all the blood coming out?
Right.
I consider that drag. I don't
Yeah.
think we have to have like strict, rigid definitions.
But I think that's what it is when you see a drag queen, you put them in a certain category. You put them in either in a campy category, dance the house down, under the table boots category, or the fashion girl. And with Jinx, I feel like we put her in campy, but then she'll do something that kind of goes, oh, well, that's a little different. So I feel like sometimes we can't really always put her in campy because she tries different things, unlike, you know, Detox and Roxy and Alaska, who kind of stay in a certain, you know what to expect from them. With Jinx, you sometimes don't know what to expect, but you don't know if that's because she's taking a risk, or maybe is it because she doesn't really know her and where she fits, and so she's like, oh, well, I'll try this because this seems like a good idea at this time. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Am I
I
out
like
on
that
my
she
own?
takes risks, and I like that she has, I mean, she got clocked by Roxy for having different abilities. She's like, oh, well, you can sing, you can act, you can dance, you can do all these different things. And she's like, but you don't look pretty enough. Basically, that was the implication.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Or
like,
you can't sew, which I'm like, come on.
well,
If they had a sewing challenge every time, okay, half of them would even be on the show. So
yeah,
it's just,
I mean that.
Sewing, makeup.
Roxy.
I mean,
Alright.
there to an extent, you do have to
Makeup's
be able
good.
to make your own outfit. But I mean, it's not Project Runway where, you know, if you don't sew very well.
At the very least,
You should have the basics of sewing.
Yes.
or take sewing out of it. Let's talk about makeup.
Well, that's
It took her half a season to get even somewhat polished when it comes to
But you have to remember,
Jinx.
stage makeup, like makeup for that you're doing for a stage, is a lot different than makeup for television. And someone who's so used to doing makeup for a stage is probably going to take a step back and be like, "Ooh, my makeup on TV looks weird," you know. And some of these girls,
I
have
can
done,
see that.
Yeah.
Some of these
I
girls
agree
have
with
done
that.
more TV than her.
I agree with that. At the same time, though, when it comes to RuPaul's Drag Race, this is the 5th season. You know what to expect. You know what you need to do. Even if you have only been in this for a few months, you need to have the basics. You need to know your face well enough to do your makeup. You need to at least know how to put an outfit together if you have to sew an outfit. You need to be an entertainer and lip sync. There are just basic stuff that people need in order to go into this competition. And I think that many queens who are out there who are vying for this spot are not going in prepared. And we've seen that this season
Yeah.
from many of the queens.
I
I
agree
still
with you.
love them anyway.
However, I will say that if all 13 contestants have prepared, they've done their research, blah, 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 I think the show would be so boring. I'd be like, why am I watching it? Because they're all polished.
You're already saying that.
Well, the whole thing is like, it's about
People have
growth.
strengths and
I'd
weaknesses.
Rather, I'd rather see a drag queen come in with not all the skills and learn and grow.
But not like Serena Chacha knows.
No, but you know what, though?
RuPaul's Drag Race School for Girls.
But the thing
not that
is-
show. This is not where you come in to learn. You need to come in with some set skills. You can take things and make and become a better performer, because that's how life is in general. You are put in situations, you learn and you grow. But at the same
Here's the
time, you're
question.
not coming to
Here's the question.
expand.
Because I agree with you. But Kenny, you're saying that all the contestants should have the room to grow. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
So apply that to every aspect of their lives then. Bullying? You got to learn.
Oh, well,
you
yeah.
can't be a bully. You can't have it one way and not the other. You just be one-sided. So if you're going to give that to Jinx, you got to give it to Roxy too. This is where she's going to learn not to be a bully, because what you say in public is going to come back to haunt you.
Well, that's
She's
true.
going to learn too.
Well, that's true.
But you're
but
over her.
I'm saying, as far as the competition, being a bully,
That's part of the competition.
I don't think bully isn't a part of the
Kenny,
competition.
you and I play sports together.
This is
Oh my
different.
gosh.
Y'all play
This is
sports?
different.
How?
This is bullying for a competition, like being cutthroat. Didn't we talk about this last season, though?
Okay, when you compete, Tony knows this. It's the same thing. You get into people's heads. You don't tell them what you're gonna do.
That's true, because that's what I did.
Get into people's heads. You're vying for
But see-
$100,000. You're not vying for friendship.
Why not?
This ain't RuPaul's best friend race.
But I'm just saying, as
You're
far as
welcome.
the
I'll let
Maybe these
you're
people have to
welcome.
work with
as
them again.
far as the competition is concerned, my thing is, take Jinx for example. The first couple of, let's say, 4 episodes, Michelle, I still can't get her name right.
Michelle
Thank you. Clocked her.
Michelle
She was like, "When are you gonna take my advice? When you?" And then she finally did it. And then Michelle was like, "I love it. I love it. I love it." And I think Santino kind of came the same way. And I think RuPaul has gotten on that like bandwagon. that's growth. That's Jinx's growth. You're not gonna see Roxy grow from this.
RuPaul said the same thing about Roxy on last night's episode, or the night before. Sorry.
But did she say it to Roxy's face, or did she say it in like?
She said it on the
No,
ground.
she said it during. Are you guys talking about when she had that big Dorito-esque thing,
Yeah.
and then
Okay.
RuPaul wasn't feeling it, and so she
changed
So
it.
RuPaul was talking
it.
to Michelle and saying, "Look, I gave her critique. She took my advice. That's growth."
I'm not saying you say. I'm talking about in the sense of the bullying, the whole like bullying issue. I mean, she's bullying now, and then after the show, yeah, she's gonna grow. But I'm saying as far as the competition is concerned, she's not gonna grow from that or grow out of that until the show is over.
I don't agree.
Okay.
Well, speaking of growth, help our numbers grow on iTunes by downloading our podcast or giving us 5 stars. Make sure you rate, comment, share, listen to us on iTunes, AfterBuzz TV, RuPaul's Drag Race, and let us know what you think.
If you say something nice about Tony, he'll respond, and that's the only
That's
time
the only
he'll
time.
respond. I was noticing that. Tony, you're hot. Oh, thanks.
Oh, I did. Tony's looking extra cute today. Thank you.
Because speaking of when they were in Untucked, when it was Roxy and Detox just like ripping, they were just bashing on Jinx. It reminded me of Raja and Delta Work.
Oh, when
That
they were
whole
talking
Untucked.
about yeah.
Because, and I said that on YouTube today. Don't get it twisted. I loved Raja, but Raja was a bully too. She just knew how to bury it the right way.
Yeah, she never did it to them in the workroom or any other where.
She did it in Untucked.
Any other
She
way.
did it to Shangela, but only when Shangela came for her first. You know what I mean? Roxy is just blatantly saying, "I don't like you, and I'm gonna bully you."
That's
just
where I
straight
think,
out.
though, it's contrived to me. Because in a normal situation, most people, and I know Roxy has a bolder personality per se, but usually people only say that those kinds of things in the confessionals. They only say them to their friends. They don't go to someone's face and are like, "You are a blah, blah, blah." You know, it just seems so weird and staged. It's like producers are egging them on to be like, okay, now you have to go say it to her face. You know?
Right. Well, even before, like, and going along with what you said, in the Untucked, the commercial right before the end, they made it seem like when she said, "Oh, how do you feel about being in the final?" And it made it look like she was
Yeah,
talking about
they totally-
just the 3 of them,
Yes.
and she was actually referring to everyone as a group.
Yeah.
So
Those are
it's
the
just-
most messed up cuts ever. Every time I watch that, I'm like, what?
So we can talk about the dresses.
Yes. So in the mini challenge, which was okay, Alaska ended up being the winner, which is really
No.
the only person that we liked and enjoyed.
Oh, you mean
The
the mini
dolls.
challenge?
The
or
dolls.
mini
oh,
challenge.
The mini
Puppets,
challenge.
puppets,
yeah.
sorry,
Mini
puppets.
challenge. Mini challenge.
Although if you
the
watch
bitch fest.
if you watch the extended cuts on Logo, thanks to whoever keeps telling me that they're extended cuts, and I'm really not very computer savvy, so I'm like, I don't know, where are they? And then I figured it out. Jinx's impression of Detox, the full impression, actually sounds like Detox when you watch it. She
Oh,
does
yeah,
her voice.
That's it. I've had it, and I was
Yeah.
like, that sounded.
It
that
sounded
did sound
just
like
like
Detox.
her.
Yeah, it did. So she did a good job with that. Going into the main challenge, this is one of those challenges where they had a lot to do. They had the Sugar Ball, where they had to have 3 different looks. The Super Duper Sweet 16. They also had to have the Sugar Mama Executive Realness and Candy Couture. Yeah, and they had to perform. That was the twist.
Who sings the Sugar Baby song? It was
no
very
idea.
It was very amusing to me.
Well,
But I was surprised that it wasn't RuPaul singing it.
right. Well, first off, the surprising thing to me was having Alaska choreograph the.
That was awesome.
Perform-
Well,
performance.
she won the mini challenge. So.
Well, I bet that was one challenge she wished she didn't win. But I don't. Do you really think Alaska even really choreographed? Because I felt like she
No.
stood there like this the
The
whole
other girls
entire
did
time,
it.
and the other girls were like, "Well, where are we supposed to be? Do you want us here? Do you, oh, okay, that works."
They weren't gonna let the ship sink.
Right. So and then for the main challenge we had CSI star Marge Hellenberger and hope I didn't butcher that.
you did.
What's her name?
Why is Kenny clocking you?
What? I'm just.
Is it Marge?
It's Marg.
Marg.
Yeah.
Marg Hellenberger. Sorry, Marg,
Marg
if you're listening.
Hamburger.
And then designer Bob Mackey, who was the first judge on the first episode of the first season of RuPaul's Drag Race.
This is where another appropriate judge is there. They're doing like couture, fashion costumes, and Bob Mackey is there,
Yes.
and really like bizarre costumes, which is what Mackey.
I have a question. Now, for the first 2 costumes, are they supposed to make them from scratch, or are they allowed to use whatever they had?
I think they were using what they had.
Okay. And then the
'Cause
third
none
one
of
they
those
had to
looked-
make out of
yeah.
candy.
Which one? The Super Duper Sweet 16?
The first two.
The first two.
And the Sugar Mama.
And the
Executive Realness.
Executive Realness?
Well, here's the thing. Did they ever mention that they had to include candy in all 3 looks?
No, they
No,
didn't.
I think the only one
But
they
they
had to
should've.
include candy was
The last one.
the last one. Speaking of the Candy Couture, did you guys feel like their look should have looked like or made with candy that made it look like something that is wearable, or they just had to make something that included candy?
Well, here's my thing on that question is basically you're given the challenge and it's up to your interpretation.
Yes.
That's what I got from it.
Yes.
Like the
I
whole
agree.
cotton candy, I didn't with Alaska's dress. I thought it was okay, but it didn't. And I understand what she was going for, but for me, it was like, did she use any candy, or is it she? Is
Oh,
cotton
she
candy?
used candy.
That was cotton candy.
So
Yeah.
cotton candy is considered candy.
No. I don't think that was cotton candy.
That's what I. Yeah,
I
don't-
think
I think it was like
But
because
Or did she paint cotton?
pasted actual
Because
candies on there.
she pasted candies, but think about it. I think someone, I can't remember even if this is the right show, but someone
Someone from a different show that
it-
none of you watch.
it might have been a past season of Drag Race where they had to use candy and someone used cotton candy. They came back the next day and it was
It melted.
Hard
It was
and
melted. It was
melty.
hard,
Yeah.
and it
It's crusty.
totally ruined
Yeah.
the outfit. And that's what I was thinking when I was watching hers. But then there was a clip where she was just pulling out these like white
Chunks.
cotton balls things.
Yeah.
And so I think it made it look like it was cotton
Yeah.
candy, but
At the
it was
very
not the
least,
actual cotton
Alaska
candy.
actually had actual candy, at least somewhere on her
Yes.
outfit.
But Roxy
think that's the
had her
only reason.
entire outfit made out of
I can't
candy.
talk too much about Roxy because I talk too much already about her. That dress was sickening. Sorry.
I thought it was way better than the
Alaska.
Dorito chip that she was about
Oh,
to make.
definitely.
And I felt like in the Candy Couture, well, in this whole challenge, Alaska and Roxy were kind of teeter-tottering between who was good. They were definitely the top two.
Right.
And I thought in the end that Roxy was actually going to take it, because looking back over all of the categories, the Sweet 16 was very Sweet 16 to me, even though one of the judges
Yep.
said that it looked very slutty. But that's really how they
That's
dress
how
now.
Alaska's
That's how they
was
look.
too. Alaska. Somebody mentioned that Alaska's was slutty too.
Yeah, but she got a good slutty, while Roxy got the bad slutty.
Yeah, that was unfair to me.
I liked it. I thought it was okay.
Who?
I'm not a fan of Roxy. Sorry.
Okay, Alaska. She wore black. Okay, this is where I'm not okay.
Karen is upset.
She wore
Karen Carpenter, and that's what
basically
he's talking
a black pillowcase and then held a cell phone and did her like
Valley
shtick.
girl. Yeah.
She was graded more on her shtick than she was on the dress. And then she wore the same exact color in her power suit, which the power suit looks great, but it's like, why are you gonna do black in one, black in the next, and
then the cotton candy.
and then the cotton candy and the dress? I mean, yes, it was the only one that you could actually tell was made out of candy, even though Roxy's was, unless like she didn't make it look like candy, which I don't think is a problem. I just think that because you could actually tell that those pieces were candy, they gave it to her, which the dress was falling apart. It was clearly falling apart.
It was falling apart in the workroom, but she held it together for the runway.
No, it looked like it was falling apart on the runway.
Well, if you did, you couldn't notice it. Maybe
Mind
it
you,
was
Jackie
blocked by
has a
her.
magnifying glass at the screen.
I was
Probably.
like,
It was probably bobbly.
I just wanted to know in the Candy Couture, bless Jinx's heart, besides the crushed candy cane pieces, where else was there candy?
There
trying
weren't.
to look like
There
a
was-
candy cane.
She had it on the hoop of the dress. That's where the candy was, and then she decided not to do
not
the
do the hoop.
candy.
Which
so she
I
didn't have
honestly
any.
think that was a great decision to edit and take the hoop out, because imagining that hoop along with everything else, I think it was too much. I think this is Jinx's problem. Yes, she seems very creative and takes a risk and things like that, but there is a line where you become too much. And I felt like in this challenge, she was too much. If you wanted to be a candy cane, you could have made that so much simpler yet amazing without being so campy with it. I felt like it was very campy. It was like, oh, here's a trunk and let's put on a Christmas play. And she was like, I'm going to be a reindeer Christmas candy cane sugar for life.
Well, the whole antlers and the wig and all that from everything was just a big old mess.
It was not. It was not a great look, and I've praised Jinx for being, interesting and creative and taking risks throughout this competition. But in this particular challenge, I thought it was just too much.
And I think you said it. Like, she's gonna fall, and I think they all do. And this was definitely the challenge where she
unraveled.
I think what had to happen though is because I think Jinx is gonna win because this is where the edit's going, and I do want Jinx to win. I like Jinx, but I know Cam doesn't, but I feel like she had to have a fall before she goes up, and and this episode was perfect for that because they had basically everybody going down the line saying they want to get rid of her, and so I think that's the point where it's like she feels like she's the outsider, so now she's given the position to win, which is the same thing that happened to Sharon Needles. And
this is why I actually like Alaska now better, is because her reasoning for wanting Jinx to go home was, for me, the honesty,
real honest reasoning,
genuine, as opposed to Detox and Roxy. Oh, we just don't like her. Alaska owned up to it. She said, "You're a competition.
Threat. You're a competition now. When in the beginning we didn't think you were, and you've been really knocking it out of the box." And
scored points for Alaska in my book.
I like her. I just don't think she's a drag queen. Although I did like her Power Girl wig. It looked good.
That's the same thing I say about Jinx, but you're going to get away with that, and I'm okay with it.
I've had it.
Had what?
Officially.
Officially. I did like Alaska's powerhouse Sugar Mama look. I thought it was, and I thought she played into it really well.
For me, of the whole season.
Yeah,
it really,
the whole entire
the
season.
hair was all right.
Yeah.
It really reminded me of like an Annie Lennox. Like when she stepped out, I was like, that looks like Annie Lennox running a construction company.
Jinx was more like Miss Geist from Clueless.
Let's okay. First off, Jinx, I felt like Jinx missed the mark this whole challenge. Like each time she came out, I was like, wrong. That's not the super duper sweet 16 look, which she was like the 70s flower child. I was like, no sweet 16 girl is going to wear that or look like that in any time period. I don't even think Sunflower back in the 70s looked like that for her sweet 16. That's just my opinion. She didn't look right for the Candy Couture. That was just way too much. And then for the Sugar Mama, she didn't look like a Sugar Mama. She looked like the secretary that nobody wants to touch, look at, or even interact with.
Mrs. Trelawney from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So in short, she failed at this challenge miserably. In your opinion.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we talk about Detox?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything was 80s, and it cracked me up because the judges clocked her for looking 80s. Rue was wearing an 80s dress, and
let's talk about that dress too.
And Michelle was wearing an 80s outfit.
She always does.
And then they clock her for looking 80s. It's like,
I don't even know what Michelle had on. Like
she didn't.
The waterfall crimp hair with the really big bustier. It was like rocker meets street hooker.
I liked it though. I like rockers meeting street hookers.
I just wanted to say,
but I like the 80s.
RuPaul, her dress. I think you caught it when I said it.
About the bow.
Yeah, it wasn't a bow. I get it, but the bottom that looked like a bow. And I'm sorry, I didn't like that dress at all.
I liked the
her
pattern.
Hair was cute.
I like the pattern.
The dress.
More
Not
about
flattering.
we're still on Detox. The whole 80s look.
Yeah.
I feel like her Candy Couture was a miss.
A huge
like
miss.
I
well, it
feel,
didn't look like candy.
Yeah, it was just like a dress with some.
It was highlighter
Doodly
couture.
doos.
Yeah.
yeah.
But who said it? Santino, when she has to make her own, like when she's brought her stuff and assembled it looks good. But when she had to make her own, it wasn't that great.
Because the Sugar Mama look was very powerful. I like that.
I like them both. I like the 80s.
I wasn't quite sure about the hair though.
I love the hair.
I like it, but I don't know if it.
It was how I feel Alaska's trying to do her hair and missing it.
Maybe. Can I just say I loved Roxy's Sugar Mama look. She looked like a complete Joan Crawford in the
She should have won.
boardroom.
She should have won. I don't think that she should have been clocked for not having it look like candy because she looked the best. She really did.
Who are we talking
She
about?
did.
Roxy.
Oh yeah, Bob Mackie said she's the only one who actually incorporated candy in every one of her outfits. Because the second one, which is your executive power mom, she
had the
put gummy
gummy
bears.
bears.
Yeah, no titties.
Yeah. I I honestly thought if it was that Roxy should have won.
I do too.
And that licorice,
was
that was
beautiful.
everything. It was everything, and it was completely.
They're
made
looking
out
at
of
the
candy.
And
monitor if we're.
I know, yeah, sorry, we're looking at the monitor
It
because
was
she looks
completely made out of
gorgeous.
candy.
She's captivating.
Yeah.
And I know we have people that are clocking her for saying, you know, Jinx can't sew, and then she makes a dress that's not a sewing dress. But it really, like, to super glue all that stuff, and I know it's not sewing, but it takes a lot of, like, time and patience.
And sleep.
But that comes a lot. I mean, if you know, I mean, most queens that are actually pageant queens, you become very crafty.
Yeah.
And just to correct, because I didn't really go back and look at our episode, but Roxy actually didn't win Miss Continental. She won Miss Continental Plus, which is not the same thing.
It's
but
the big girls.
big girl.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the Sour Patch question of who should go home and everyone?
That was again
It's
to
The
be
setup for
expected.
Jinx's win.
Yeah.
You know what I was surprised about this season? No one came back.
Yes!
You know what? I'm not surprised because they've done it twice before. They don't need to do it again.
Really?
Yeah.
What if they bring someone back
for the final?
for the final?
Oh, that would be the shade of it all. So for someone to like come in at the end,
Yes.
that would be shade.
And I think that's why it's a little unfair because didn't one season they brought back somebody who got kicked off weeks ago?
Yeah.
Prior. Yeah.
They brought back Kenya Michaels. She got
That's
kicked.
what it was.
Yeah.
But
And then
I-
they get kicked off right at that same episode. What does that mean?
I always that's what I always feel like
Kicked off.
I kind of like the smell.
love it.
I always feel like it's a setup when they bring someone back because I feel like you're just saying we need one more episode and we don't want to get rid of these girls. We're gonna bring you back because we know you're gonna go home.
No, and we need more scandalousness.
I will also point out in the performance. Sorry, we're watching the monitors as it happening. Their makeup looked amazing for the Sugar Ball performance.
Yeah.
They all looked
They all
really
looked
good.
really great, and they were
Yeah.
all that was actually one of the best performances.
group performances.
Well, because
group
it was
performances I've
simple.
seen. Yeah, but it
simple.
was cute.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Sometimes simple is better.
Yeah.
Less is more.
So in the end, we had Alaska winning the challenge, and in the bottom two we had Detox and Jinx. I thought the lip sync. I'm sure we were all hoping for Detox,
No, I wasn't hoping for Detox.
but I think Jinx really
I was hoping Alaska would accidentally go home.
would accidentally go home after she won.
Oh please, Jinx lip syncs her ass off.
Okay,
She
so
deserved it.
But-
here's a question I'm gonna throw out to you guys. Do you think the four that are left? Do you think they picked the song based on who's left in the competition?
Yes.
See,
Yes.
this is how I feel. That song, just
That's
like
a Jinx
everything has
song.
kind of been like a top 40, hit, something that we all know about. Never heard this song before. It's not, and it sounded like something that a campy drag queen would perform anyway.
It's also
And
in
it-
another
Jinx
language.
And yeah, and it
Yeah,
was, and I feel
not in
like
English.
I almost feel like it was set up so that Jinx could continue because we knew
No.
that Jinx was going to pull out her stick.
What do you gotta say, Kenny?
Imagine, okay, let's just say, for instance, Alaska and Roxy
See?
were in the bottom two. That song would have been suitable for both of them as well. I think the song was specifically picked to see which one was going to be a little bit better. I think had they given them like an Aretha Franklin song or something different, it would have made it more interesting. You know
I
what
think
I mean?
they should have picked a different song
I think-
because
I
that was a
think so,
Camp
too.
Queen
I think,
song.
and I
It was
think
very
this
campy.
is where the producers are like, we are in. It's like Hunger Games. They're in total
Yes.
control of everything that's going on.
But in
And
the
it
same
makes it-
token, Detox could have murdered that song. If Detox was the Detox that I have seen and known of, she should have been a whole lot. She could have been right there with Jinx.
I was disappointed because I love Detox.
Or here's the thing, because when I saw it, I didn't. The camera was on Jinx the entire time.
Yeah.
And so I can't really say. Maybe she
But-
did turn it out.
I will say that Detox, though, after a while, that Josh Shimmy thing is
Wait.
tired and played
Yes.
out.
Here's
Yes.
the thing.
so
So,
over
she
that.
was doing her Josh Shimmy thing, and they cut to Michelle Visage. Michelle Visage's
that eyebrow.
If it could go
No,
any
no.
higher.
What happened was it got to like some like mouthy part, and like any queen would do, so that I know this part. They point to their mouth, and Detox's mouth is, and she pointed to it, and they cut to
Michelle.
Michelle going.
But there were, it wasn't like there were words. It was just like,
yeah.
you know. So I mean,
But
Although
again,
Jinx, I will say though,
set up.
even though it was set up for Jinx, she killed it.
Yeah.
She
She
killed
did.
it. It was
She did.
so amusing to watch.
But I feel like if Roxy was in it, I don't know if Roxy would know what to do with that song.
No.
I feel like
Alaska
if
would.
I think she
if
would've-
Alaska was in it, Alaska would have known what to do with that song.
Yeah.
And we all saw what Detox did.
I think Roxy would have known. She would have did something with it.
It's such a campy song.
But
It's,
you know
it's
what?
one of those
It
ones
kind of
where-
out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you really have to be a little bit kooky in order to perform it. Detox is kooky.
Yeah,
And
she could have done it.
she could have really stepped it up, but Jinx had it. Jinx was in the pocket.
Well, and this comes back to what we talked about earlier. I mean, even though Detox may be seasoned, she doesn't let it show. I think Jinx got into all of their heads. They all started to realize that's why they were bashing her, that she is true competition. She is talented. She may not be a queen in their eyes, but she's talented, and they don't want to go home because that's $100,000.
compared to crumple up dollar bills at Mickey's.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ain't nothing wrong with crumpled up dollars from Mickey's. Because I get a
Well,
few
just
of
watch
those.
out for meningitis.
Ooh, I do the check all the time.
oh wow.
I do. I'm always right, just to make sure. So in the end, Jinx won, and now we have in the top 3 Jinx, Alaska, and Roxy.
Jump back real quick. I just wanted to say, of all of us, well, Ken, you weren't here, but I did call 2 of those finalists. Just
I
saying.
think we all.
No, you didn't. I went back and watched it. I called Alaska and Roxy. You called out Lanesha,
Oh, I was all
Detox,
about
and
Lanesha.
Roxy, and she called out
I said Roxy.
Detox, Roxy, and you called out Ivy Winters.
That was
But she
so
said-
long
she
ago,
still
though.
had to. Oh, Detox. Sorry.
That was so long ago, though.
Like Tony said, I just want to make sure I called out.
Get your life. All right,
I did, apparently.
And now let's move on to a little bit of news and gossip. So as we mentioned earlier, there has been some news that Miss Alyssa Edwards might be getting a spinoff, as she was escorted by the one and only RuPaul for the MTV Movie Awards.
Wait, was she escorted or being escorted by?
Whichever.
Was it Movie Awards or New Now Next Awards?
It was an MTV movie award.
It was. They went.
Oopsie.
She
They went to
had.
both.
She had an appearance at the New Now Next Awards, and then on Sunday, her and RuPaul were at the at the MTV Movie Awards, where apparently RuPaul tweeted, "She is the RuPaul is the executive producer of Alyssa's new spin-off show."
And they were in West Hollywood as well.
Didn't
Were
I
they at
call
Mickey's?
it? I called it. I
Yes,
said
Jacque
she would
did.
have a great show, and now I want to kick back.
You can get a high five. Get a high five. She was
Well,
okay.
well, my
She
question-
does work for a lawyer, so she should.
My question is, what
She may be
My
coming for
lawyer
you.
will call you.
what will her spin-off show be?
Who knows? Her.
Will it be about her dance company?
No,
Her
Will
posing
it
in
be-
front of a mirror.
Dance Queens.
If they follow my idea, it's her coaching people to be pageant queens. If they follow my idea, I want to kick back.
And how to lose your crown. And
And
Yes.
fight with Coco. Sorry.
Interesting. And now on to predictions.
Oh, that's all the news?
That's it. Did anybody else have something?
Now, your AfterBuzz TV.
So now that we are in the top 3,
That went on for a while. Or you just didn't talk over it?
I didn't talk over it.
Ah.
Let's do rankings. Who's going to win? Who's going to be first runner-up? Who's going to be second?
Do they do that? I thought it was just winner.
Well, I mean, they usually
they've had-
they vote you off in a certain order.
Well, not last year. They didn't do that
Yeah,
last
they
year.
didn't
But
do
Well, oh no, last year they didn't, but usually. But for here at AfterBuzz TV, for
just
RuPaul
for
Drag Race
Tony.
season 5, and because I just want to know, Cameron Marston.
I will pick Roxy, Jinx, Alaska.
Roxy being
Roxy
number one.
being number one.
Jackie.
Jinx, Roxy, Detox.
Oh, you brought Detox back?
Coming back in a
Brought
big
her
box.
I'm going to
Kenny?
do Jinx, Alaska, Roxy.
I'm going to do Roxy as the winner, Jinx, then Alaska.
Oh, hey. Hey, sis.
Hey, sis.
Did anyone else notice that when Alaska was holding the Michelle Visage puppet, she was holding her boob the entire time?
Did you notice that the puppet had huge boobs?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is
That
nice.
puppet was all boobs.
All boobs. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another wonderful AfterBuzz TV after show for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 5. Guys, let them know where they can find you, starting with...
Tomakava777.
At 123 Jackie_B.
Wherever Jackie is, you'll find me.
And you can find me on all platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under Lounging with Tony, or on my website, loungingwithtony.com. You can also find me here again at AfterBuzz TV for Dance Moms on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will see you next Wednesday for another Dragalicious after show on AfterBuzz TV.
I'm sorry.
What was that?
From Bing.
You're everywhere.
Executive
Stupid
producers
bitch.
Maria Menounos, Kevin
Go to the
Undergaro,
hell.
Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff. We would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.